Hello and welcome to our GiveLoveLeeds podcast, where we'll be delving into conversations being held across the city and learning more about how we can come together to create positive change for the communities that need it the most. Leeds Community Foundation is an organisation that supports thousands of charities and voluntary groups across Leeds, addressing inequalities. We invest in these groups by distributing grants and sharing advice, acting as a catalyst for positive change. Today's host is Kate Hainsworth, CEO of Leeds Community Foundation.
Hello, my name is Kate Hainsworth. I'm Chief Exec of Leeds Community Foundation, and welcome to our second GiveLoveLeeds podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be joined by Francesca Wood.
Hello.
Who's been working with the foundation to coordinate our Healthy Holidays programme and has been a really integral part of our success. She'll be my co-host today and share her experience of working on the programme, which we've been delivering over the past 4 years, and interviewing some of the partners we've been lucky enough to work alongside. So Francesca's going to be introducing Rebecca Holding from New Wortley Community Association and Alyssa Newman from Holbeck Together, 2 community organisations that have joined us on the Healthy Holidays journey to share why this programme is so vital to the families and young people they support. Healthy Holidays is now in its 4th year and has been refined and developed over that time to address the inequitable challenge faced by families with insecure food supply during the longer holidays, as well as the other disadvantages that often go alongside that in terms of holiday inactivity, stress, and sometimes isolation. During term time, families dependent on free school meals have a structure to support fragile finances, often caused through insecure work, housing, or other issues. During the holidays, especially the long holidays, there are a range of additional calls on that family budget for additional childcare to allow parents or carers to work, the cost of additional meals, and providing purposeful creative activity for youngsters. Over the years, an integrated and locally connected network has been established, including food suppliers, schools, local authority hubs, catering, community organisations, activity providers, digital and uniform supply, and much, much more. Just to give you an idea of scale, there are over 28,600 school children entitled to free school meals in Leeds, and this number has risen at an accelerated rate since lockdown first took effect. During 2020, almost £850,000 was spent supporting a range of enriching activity, arts and crafts, sports and games, gardening, harvesting, outdoor crafts, cooking, digital creativity, the list goes on. As well as fun activities, the schemes provide emotional and social support so young people and their parents and carers don't feel alone and isolated. Children and their families can get the other help they need as they are connected to longer-term support from community groups they trust and signposted to relevant other community or council services. Importantly, the programme isn't only for those on free school meals, so there isn't that stigma attached to attending. It's a really fantastic programme that any child would be keen to attend. During a tough year last year, community organisations delivered outstanding Healthy Holidays programmes with thousands of meals and activity sessions delivered to thousands of young people. From the start of lockdown up to the summer, nearly 15,500 children were supported, with almost 87,000 portions of food given out and an estimated 73% of those children facing issues accessing enough food. During the summer, almost 5,500 children were supported, with 46,000 portions of food, over 7,000 activity packs were given out, and over 8,000 online activities were accessed. From the very beginning, we've been really proud to operate this scheme in partnership with Leeds City Council and some core partners in terms of food and activity supply, notably Street Games, Fair Share and Rethink Food. In the last few years, the Department for Education have also supported the summer provision through their Holiday Activity and Food, the HAF programme. This year, the Department for Education have significantly increased that HAF programme contribution, channeling it through the local authority. And Leeds City Council have asked us to partner with them, and we're pleased to be able to support that work on the HAF programme. Given our longer history as Healthy Holidays, however, we felt it important to maintain continuous work with our community organisation partners on a year-round programme. And so the philanthropic or independent money we've been able to attract and distribute is supporting that year-round work. Through the HAF programme, we're also looking to reach deeper and further into communities that we haven't been able to work with previously, to extend the benefits and learning acquired in previous years to the good of more Leeds children and their families. So it's now my absolute pleasure to ask Francesca, co-host, to share her reflections and some key highlights from the programme before we hear from Rebecca and Alyssa about what it's been like to deliver on the ground. Thanks, Francesca.
Thanks so much, Kate. So I've been coordinating Healthy Holidays for Leeds Community Foundation for the last few years, and it has been an amazing programme to be involved in. I'd evaluated the initial pilot and I've been really impressed at the creative use of Healthy Holidays by so many of the community organisations. Yes, food is an important component of it, but even more than that, the range of activities that have been delivered and the social support and the social engagement, not just for the children and young people, but for their parents and carers as well, has been a really incredible component and success, I would say, of Healthy Holidays as it's been run here in Leeds. On the back of that first year, I think even the community groups themselves were quite shocked at the levels of deprivation and need that they experienced when they were talking to those families. So Healthy Holidays, again, has been a really interesting gateway and access to those sorts of conversations with families to understand what's really going on behind closed doors, what sort of support is needed, and how they can provide that support. So it has been using Healthy Holidays as an engagement mechanism, really, but then on the back of that, having conversations, developing trust and relationships to provide ongoing support, not just to the children themselves, but to their families as well. So I think that's why it's been so successful here in Leeds. What we have found, and what a lot of the community groups have told us, is that it's actually like running two different programs. There's a food program and there's an activity and support program. So that takes a lot of work, and our community groups have been amazing in terms of the effort they've put in. And that's where their preparation is really critical. So a lot of feedback has been very appreciative of the fact that Leeds Community Foundation funds this year on year, because that enables the community organisations to do that forward planning and really bed in and be as ambitious as they want to be about what the programme will deliver, and working with local partners to make that happen. We've been really fortunate here in Leeds to have our programme supported by a range of funders out there. So, of course, we have Leeds City Council. We've been lucky enough to secure DFE HAF funding, as Kate has mentioned, but also because of the relationships that Leeds Community Foundation has, we've been able to secure donations from corporate donors and philanthropists as well. And their generosity and loyalty has been fantastic and has been amazing support for the programme too. We also have some phenomenal partnerships that we're really, really lucky to have that have helped us do so much more with the resources that we have available. Our food partners, particularly Fair Share Yorkshire and Rethink Food, as well as support from Catering Leeds at Leeds City Council, have all been phenomenal in terms of the support and delivery they've provided. And because the programme has evolved over the years, we've been able to learn, spot needs, and then respond to that as we go. So, for example, in the past year, we've been working much more closely with Hamara, one of our amazing charities here in Leeds, who have been a cultural food hub partner for the whole COVID response. And we've tapped into them to support some of the food requirements by our community groups as well, particularly around cultural food needs. So things like that have really helped us to grow and develop as we go. We're really lucky also to have an amazing activity partner in Street Games, Yorkshire and Humber. They've been with us since the beginning and have done a fantastic job of providing training to our staff and volunteers that has improved their ability to deliver casual sports, doorstep sports, activities that are really going to engage with the kids that they can do anywhere. Rather than the more sort of formal and traditional sports opportunities. And at a time when we've got falling rates in sports participation, particularly amongst these groups in deprived areas, that's been so important. And again, they've done that not just in terms of the children, but often in terms of their parents and carers as well. So always having that wider impact has been fantastic too. Each year we get more and more ambitious with what we want to do, and we also respond to the sort of needs that we're hearing from the ground as we go. We already knew there was a problem in terms of the amount of money that families have to spend on school uniform, which often cuts into their food budget. So we've been fortunate enough to work with Zero Waste Leeds and with Leeds City Council, who, and on the back of that, Zero Waste Leeds have developed the Leeds School Uniform Exchange, which supports a range of initiatives and groups, local groups, school groups, community groups, all around the city, and has had a tremendous impact, especially last year, in recycling and reusing pre-loved school uniform, particularly in a year where that uniform didn't see a lot of use. And that's been a huge cost saving, but also an environmental saving as well. And it's a really great way to combine those different priorities out there around climate change and how can you get involved with that, as well as with making sure that school uniform budget doesn't mean compromising your food budget. Another issue that we've seen become increasingly problematic, particularly since lockdown, was digital exclusion. So we worked with a local partner, Digital Access West Yorkshire, in partnership with Leeds City Council, and we funded a project called Tech Angels. They were taking in donated unwanted laptops, wiping and refurbishing them, adding a data allowance, and then donating those out to children who didn't have digital access through our Healthy Holidays programme. So I just wanted to share a few of my own highlights from Healthy Holidays over the years. And I think the biggest thing that I always come away with is the absolute buzz you see that the children and young people who take part get out of it. I've been fortunate enough to go and visit groups and see what's going on the ground. And the enjoyment that the children and the young people have is just amazing. And when you're talking to them or seeing them in action, they really, really relish and enjoy every moment of it. And although it's not an explicit outcome for what we do, there is a real thread of being ready to go back to school and ready to learn in what we do. The 6-week summer holiday is often a really long break from school, and there are children who go back very unready to learn. We've had some amazing case studies of children who'd started to attend at the beginning of the school holidays with some quite difficult behavioural problems, and because of their involvement with Healthy Holidays, their behaviour improves. They're in an environment that's very supportive and positive. It makes a world of difference for the child, and it also makes a huge difference at home every evening for their parents and carers as well. So it's a really positive way of making a real difference to family life during the school holidays, but also having those children ready to go back to school and ready to learn as well. I think one of the things that struck me most last summer, here we were in the middle of a pandemic. We'd just come out of the lockdown. It was fairly grim times, but the kids, you would never notice that they were struggling with that. They were having such a great time when I went down to visit some of the groups, really enjoying the activities they were doing, enjoying making new friends, and just that sheer pleasure of creating really great holiday memories that they would look back on fondly was what it was all about. And I think that's such an important impact for Healthy Holidays to achieve. And now we're joined by Becky Holding from New Wortley Community Association. Just a brief word about the association first. So New Wortley Community Associations existed since 1982, and it works to provide services and support to the people of New Wortley, which is one of the most deprived parts of Leeds. The association operates and runs the New Wortley Community Centre, which is a real hub for local services and support. So thanks so much for joining us, Becky.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I just wanted to ask if you could talk about your experience over the past 3 years now of being involved in Healthy Holidays.
So Healthy Holidays, let's see, I think 3 years ago when I started there, one of the reasons we applied for Healthy Holidays was the lack of youth provision that was in the area and at the community centre. So initially we applied for a small pot of funding, which was just to deliver activities in the centre, provide kids with a meal or something to eat. But we wanted to focus on things like them having a meal together around the table. So the first ever one that we ran, we probably got a few kids involved, which I think there was about 41 or 42 initially. But then as time went on and as we did it more in other holidays, this increased massively. So we went from 41 to 79 the next time we did the Healthy Holidays programme. And then we went from 79 to over 100 children that was engaged. And what I suppose happened was that the more we started promoting and having conversations with like the local primary schools and Armley Hub and finding out what other things were out there and what they were doing or where the gaps were, then it gained momentum, but also it meant for us as a community centre that we were able to identify the most vulnerable families, because the schools and social workers and things have got information that we haven't. So we were able to identify those that were most vulnerable and in need and that sort of needed that help and support. From then, it's just grown year on year, really, to the point where we've now got a fabulous team of staff and volunteers and volunteers from other groups that help us run activities, make up packs in terms of getting information out there, providing services, feeding the kids, and also just making that contact. I think the beauty of it, Francesca, has been that it's not just about feeding the children and providing an activity. For us, it's become a catalyst for so much more, and it's been about engaging those families sort of moving forward.
And I think that's really why so many community organisations have leapt at the chance to be involved in Healthy Holidays, haven't they? It really has been that sort of longer term approach.
Definitely. I think because a lot of the organisations, they'll have the similar sort of issues and things that we have. They'll want to sort of hit, you know, the same sort of target groups. But I think it is that the ultimate thing is that it's about providing support, especially in the holidays, because, you know, the schools, they have a high number of kids that are on free school meals. What does a family do if you've got 4 children and for 6 weeks you've got to provide another meal, snacks, you know, things like that? It's just vital, really.
And really, you're also in a position to sort of connect them into all of your other services and activities as well, aren't you?
We are, yes. So at the community centre, there's lots and lots of things going on. We've got a support team, the building blocks team, who are able to do that sort of, just have a general cup of tea conversation, bit of one-to-one, and can sort of engage with the people that sort of access. So, you know, we've had where parents have come. I remember sort of like the first year we did it, I think in 1 week I had 3 parents that were actually quite anxious and upset about the school holidays, how they were going to feed the kids, how they were going to keep them entertained, because sometimes when they're bored, they're a bit more of a handful. And how we'd move forward with that. So we booked them into the sessions, but then that gave staff the opportunity to speak to mum and find out what really was going on, what else did they need a hand with, and then us look at the services that we had that may help, and if we didn't, who did we know locally that we could feed them into? And that's how the referral process and sort of moving people onto the next step has actually worked, really. All from bringing the kids in for something to eat and an activity.
I know it's been a really interesting sort of gateway opportunity to engage with not just the children and young people, but with their whole families to provide better support, hasn't it?
Definitely. It's been vital, especially in the last year. I think that's the other thing. We had it anyway and we started building it and it was lovely to have, but this last year it has made a real impact and a difference. You know, we have been sending out every holiday between 100 and 150 food parcels or recipe packs that feed 4 to 6 people. You know, so it's that thing, isn't it? You're providing sort of over 6,000 meals locally for the kids. You know, the families might, you know, have some as well, you know, parents, they're cooking together, you know, because they come with everything. And it is that whole thing of empowering parents as well a little bit to interact a bit more, or some parents just haven't got the confidence to cook with the kids because they're not quite sure how to do it.
And you were telling me just the other day about, you know, the importance since COVID with families, with parents and carers who are experiencing being on furlough or being made redundant.
Yeah, so, one of the ways that we did distribute some things were we invited people from local schools who the school had signposted to come and get recipe packs. And just on general conversations again, it was just, we got talking to a parent about the fact that she'd been furloughed, so she wasn't on full pay anymore. And her husband had been actually made redundant as a result. And they had quite good jobs. However, they were now in a position where they were really, really having to rethink about what they were going to do going forward. And she said, I really don't know what we're going to do going forward. And she said, you pay your bills and you try and make sure you've got enough money to do that. And food is always the one that you try and cut back on. So she said that, that even just having the recipe packs to do with the kids was a massive help. And then as a result of that, we're just in the process of launching the food store, which is low cost recipes and food items for families as well. So she volunteered to come and help with that. So that's getting packs and recipes together, but also takes part in it now as well. So they get them delivered every week. So again, it's that sort of, it's co-production of sort of like your services, and it's the multitude of ways in which we help, the families and the children that are involved.
And just picking up on that co-production, because you'd mentioned before two of the other groups that have been involved, your young people and your mums. Do you want to just mention that a bit?
Oh, I will. I like this bit. So we set up a women's group, and one of the reasons for the women's group was so that they could look at sort of certain things for themselves, but also how they could help with families going forward. So one of the key things that they have been involved in is the healthy holidays things, and how we get all the activity packs together, the recipe packs. We do, it's what's going to become a regular feature for us in New Wortley, but we've been doing a treasure hunt for families to come out of, and at the moment they've been booking in family bubbles to attend, but the women have been there to help out, to engage, to talk. It's brilliant for them and the confidence and everything. They get such a buzz and a nice feeling out of providing it, but they also see that the hard work and everything they contribute, where it goes to, and think just the fact that you then, you've got happy families and you've got kids running around and enjoying the space and things, is just been priceless. And the youth board, they have been trained up. So we've got an explorer pack that Active Leeds gave us, and they actually go out and they set up the treasure hunt before people get there. And then they print all the maps out and they meet and greet the children, and the youth board hand out the maps and tell them what to do. So, it's all that, isn't it? It's just fabulous. When you see things feeding into each other like that, it's just great.
It's really interesting how powerful that co-production is. So you're engaging those groups, but those are often groups that are funded through other funding programmes that Leeds Community Foundation supports and delivers in the area. So it's nice to see how it all ties up together.
Yes, definitely.
Good stuff. Becky, I'm just wondering if there were any other stories you wanted to sort of mention, or anything else in terms of what's really been so powerful about Healthy Holidays for you at New Wortley.
I think we've got lots of stories in terms of helping parents, but I think one of the things that I really, really want to point out is how Healthy Holidays in the past year has helped us build so many partnerships with other organisations, the team of social workers at Armley Moor, the food distribution centres, because we've relied heavily, and they've been absolutely amazing. Fair Share, Rethink, we've had Leeds Food Aid Network, and sort of organisations like that. And I think that's the thing. We do all this and we develop people, but it's all the partners and the other things that are available out there that just make it work so well. And if there's anything that we are struggling with, or something we'd like to do, but we're not quite sure who to speak to, then you ring one of your partners and say, do you know how we do this? Can you help us? And everything seems a lot more achievable as well by doing that, I think. So that has just been absolutely priceless in terms of the past year. But then just this year, community involvement and people coming forward and getting in touch with us and asking, they'll see things on social media and asking how we've done it, and from other organisations as well. So I think the meetings that we've had and everything with the other organisations and sharing those ideas and looking at even down to safety and how to do things safely. The training opportunities that we've been given for the team, all that has just provided so much input into delivering a really, really good programme.
Yeah, and I know 2020 and COVID pandemic has been so brutal for so many community groups, but I've found it incredibly encouraging how outward looking so many of you have been as a result of that, because you could have gone very inwards, but everyone's been looking out at how they can help each other and how they can work together, minimise duplication, play to each other's strength. I think that's been an incredibly positive outcome in the last year, and it's been great to see how that's worked through Healthy Holidays.
Definitely.
So I guess I wanted to finish by asking you about where next. I mean, we've been really lucky. We've got almost a year-round programme of funding thanks to the way Leeds Community Foundation has committed to Healthy Holidays. And there is a good amount of funding around at the moment. I'm just curious with where things go next for you.
Oh, bigger and better, I think. Our summer programme now, we're looking at delivering summer camps. So it means that now that we've got our funding through, we've got more flexibility with things like that. And we're looking at getting partners in. So like Leeds Rhinos, for example, who will come and do 2 weeks of delivery of summer camps. And then we do the add-on sessions or things that are dotted around the centre. So, and what we're looking at is we're trying to sort of gauge a broad range of age groups in doing that. So it might be that, I don't know, we have mornings which are for the younger age group, afternoons that are for the older age group, but also looking at how the local primary schools and what they're doing. So, and quite interestingly, we've just had talks recently because I think there's funding that's come out for the schools. So it's ensuring, again, we've mentioned duplication isn't taking place, but how can, we all work together so that we have got a programme that kids can access for the whole of the school holidays. If we're just doing 3 days a week in a particular week, can the schools do another 2 days? So we've got a 5-day-a-week programme. And it's looking at all that. So these are the key things that we're looking at for the summer. And the hope is that we will have 6 weeks of 5-day delivery of some kind for the kids to engage in an activity, get something to eat, socialise, make friends. Parents can chat, meet up elsewhere, hopefully, if everything heads in the right direction. But yeah, and then Christmas, we've got so many ideas for Christmas.
Excellent. And it's fantastic that you can forward plan so much, because that lead time is so crucial for you to get these activities right, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And it is having those conversations. And the other thing actually that's just sprung to mind is that every single idea that we have has come from a conversation with somebody or a group or it's not that we've just decided that this is what we're going to do and we've not spoke to anybody else. It's by listening to your partners, it's listening to the families, it's chatting with the kids, and it's finding out what it is that they want to do, what it is that they want to see, and how we go about doing that. I think the only issue is that as you get bigger and you start doing things, it's having capacity to accommodate children and make sure that it's inclusive for everybody. So that might be something that we have to look at as part of the summer camps. If children do a couple of particular days and then other children are able to access other days. But we'll work all that out. So yeah.
You will, because you always do.
We do.
And the kids just have the most amazing time with you. It's fantastic to come down and see it in action. Becky, thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
So we're now joined by Alyssa Newman from Holbeck Together. Welcome, Alyssa.
Thank you very much for inviting me today.
Great stuff. So a little bit of information about Holbeck Together first. Holbeck Together delivers a wide range of community support services and health and wellbeing activities, everything from intergenerational community choir to peer support groups for family carers, to community clean-up days, Meals on Wheels, and even trips to the seaside in their community minibus. They use their expertise and reach to maximise the benefits they provide for older people, while also increasingly working to nurture and facilitate positive activities and support for people of all ages in Holbeck. In fact, after 27 years serving older people locally, the charity took the strategic decision in 2019 to respond to community need and expand its remit to support people of all ages in their community and become the community anchor organisation for Holbeck. So that must be keeping you very busy over there in Holbeck at the moment, Alyssa.
Well, yes, I mean, we're always very busy. And I think that's the joy of the job, really, that no 2 days are the same. And we never really know what we're going to be faced with on a daily basis. And certainly during COVID, we've even been busier than normal.
I'm sure you have. And we were talking actually just the other day about how things have changed over the past few years for you as an organisation, shifting from that older people focus and your previous facilities. If you just want to sort of mention a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So Holbeck Elderly Aid, as we were formerly known for 26 years, was and is a neighbourhood network scheme working in the heart of the Holbeck community, focusing on supporting older people who were socially isolated, living in high-rise apartments, who may be frail and disadvantaged. But it became very clear to us as the years have gone by that actually, for me, I was passionate about intergenerational work and not excluding age groups from each other and working together with age groups. And we very much wanted to put that on our agenda and start facilitating groups that would welcome both generations. And we started to have wellbeing mornings that included younger families and older people. And one day I was walking up the street in Holbeck to St Matthew's from our office in Barn Walk, which is just a little bit off the beaten track. And I noticed, well, I saw it most days, that the Leeds Building Society office, which was centrally placed outside St Matthew's, was boarded up. And I thought, why should this lovely building be boarded up? Boarded up buildings don't help any environment. And furthermore, wouldn't it be a wonderful office for us? So I got in touch with the Chief Operating Officer of Leeds Building Society and asked if I could go and see her. And very generously, she invited me to the offices in the Hedgerow in Leeds. And when I was going up in the lift, I thought, well, I don't quite know what I'm going to say, but here goes, you've just got to be a little bit cheeky. And within 5 minutes, my request was, could we possibly rent that central office from you? Because it will enable us to expand our work to outreach to more generations and more people in the centre of Holbeck. And she said, no, you can't rent it from us, but I'll give it to you for 5 years. And honestly, the two of us ended up crying. I went down in the lift. I was jumping up and down in the street thinking, I can't believe what's happened to me. And that was in 2017. And honestly, the move to this centrally based office has supported our, development strategy to encompass the whole of the community and become a community anchor.
That's fantastic. And it's amazing what asking on behalf of a community or on behalf of other people can get you, isn't it?
Oh, gosh, even though you're not asking for yourself, you still feel that, is this a little bit cheeky? But actually, if you don't ask, you don't get. And it just, for me, demonstrates the power of working with businesses in the city and locally. And just one decision like that can change the life of an organisation, because it did. It really helped us to grow in the last 5 years. And that's when the natural progression became that we became Holbeck Together, and we rebranded from Holbeck Elderly Aid and changed our constitution to accommodate, for example, the wonderful opportunities we've had with you at the foundation to work on the Healthy Holidays projects.
And in fact, talking about you don't ask, you don't get, you'd mentioned it was a young mum who'd said to you, why aren't there more things to do for children, which kind of led you to getting involved in Healthy Holidays in the first place?
Well, yes, because we were then placed with our new constitution and our new name, we were really in a position then to go forth and deliver. And so we didn't decide to do it for ourselves. It was a community that appealed to us. And a young mum said, it's not safe for my kids in the holidays. We've got extra stress in terms of activity and money and food. And this was before COVID. So we didn't have any funding for it. But I thought, come on, let's just do something for a week. Let's not put pressure on ourselves, but let's just try a few activities for a week with this mum who is actually going to approach her peers at school, and let's see what happens. And it was a success. And we were so glad that we did that. And of course, the Healthy Holidays project came along, and we'd almost piloted what was coming along, and it fitted so well. So that gave us the experience to build on.
And I think it's really interesting what you mentioned there about families feeling stressed about not being able to go out during the holidays, even before COVID and pandemic, because the feedback we get from a number of families is actually most summers, most school holidays are like lockdown to them. Either the area they don't feel safe, or they don't have money to do activities. So it makes such a difference, doesn't it, when you can offer something very local and accessible and fun for those children? Absolutely.
Some suburbs, some neighbourhoods of the city are more privileged in the sense that there's more access to funds. Families are a little bit more affluent and they've got open spaces. But when you look at somewhere like Holbeck, in a 1% most deprived area of the UK, and also a priority area for the city of Leeds, it's surrounded by motorway networks. This young mum that we're talking about doesn't have a car. For her to go to the coast for the day with her children, she needs £200. It's impossible. The children are literally trapped within a central city neighbourhood. And as you say, it's lockdown. This is for 6 to 8 weeks. And no school meals. What do we do? And, children can be influenced, unfortunately, by things that are happening in an area, and it's not always safe. So you're absolutely right. It's not just during COVID.
Definitely. And just tell us about a little bit how the programme has evolved for you and some of the highs and lows.
I get emotional about it, and I shouldn't. Sorry, forgive me. But this project for me has just been so emotive. It's just been incredible. It's given us an opportunity to engage with families, to expand on that little tiny project that we started. And I don't know how to actually articulate, but the foundation, you working with us in the manner in which you have done, has almost been like you've been the project leaders with us. You haven't just given us a grant and said, here's your grant, get on with it. You've been so much part of that, Francesca, the WhatsApp group, introducing us to all the other partners in the city. And it's made that value, it's doubled the value. I can't put a value on it in the sense of working alongside you at the foundation, how you've managed it with us and held our hand and enabled us to get the maximum value out of it. It's taught us how to engage with families. That informal WhatsApp group that we set up with families has now become a support group for families. And it's a very informal but instant real-time feedback. It takes us away from surveys and laborious evaluation, which I know we have to do, but it's real evaluation because you see it and you read it. And it's enabled us during COVID to support people that would have been more disproportionately disadvantaged to actually have some great times. We've celebrated Halloween, we've celebrated Christmas, we've celebrated half term, and we've just celebrated Easter. We've done everything we can to keep business as usual in the neighbourhood. And it's been wonderful to watch young families, children, cooking meals, chicken dinners, age 7, with their parents, for the parents. in the holidays. How do you describe that? It's engagement with, alongside. It's not doing for. It's been an amazing project.
And I think that's been one of the most powerful ways that so many community groups have used Healthy Holidays. It's not doing activities to children and young people and their families. They're really much more actively involved in it. And a lot of them then start becoming volunteers and getting involved in delivery in the future that way as well. And it's been fantastic. I mean, you were talking about how do you put it into words? Well, you do a brilliant job with your words and pictures on social media. And thank you for all you share there using the hashtag Healthy Holidays Leeds, because it's great for us then to be able to share that around the network, the ideas that you do, that other groups then take on, and how you learn in vice versa from them. Your chef, Julie, has been amazing with sharing her recipe box ideas with other groups as well. So it means none of you has to start from scratch. There's always other organisations you can tap into and learn from each other. And that's been, I think, a fantastic benefit.
Absolutely, Francesca. And, you know, for me, this is just the beginning. This is the first tranche of funding we've had with our family programme. And it's the most wonderful platform for us. It's just the beginning. It's about that early intervention. And, you know, we're in it for the long haul with the families, and they're in it with us. And now they're coming to us and saying, you know, we did a really sort of lengthy consultation at the end of this project last time with them to ensure that we're doing what they want us to do. And we're hoping that this young mum that we're talking about has actually been volunteering for us during the whole Healthy Holiday programme and will continue to be pivotal in whatever we provide. But actually, we're now taking it to the next level where she's going to become an apprentice here at Holbeck Together. And so, you know, what can I say? The next steps are doing those apprenticeships with learning on projects, hospitality, within our shop, within our social supermarket, to enable young families to have opportunity to lead to employment and volunteering. So, you know, we'll never, ever forget this Healthy Holidays project because it's just been unique, really.
And I find that so interesting how much organisations like yourself use it to develop, whether that's developing cooking confidence and healthier eating habits, or whether that's developing volunteer opportunities and training and skills to lead into employability. So it really taps into the full wealth of services that you and your partners offer, not just what you're doing within a self-contained project.
It absolutely is the catalyst. It's the catalyst for really understanding what the families need for support, but to be alongside them without talking down to them, but talking with them and sharing their good and difficult experiences. And, you know, I've always said that food, you must never go hungry, and it's essential that families have food on the table, but actually eating together, preparing food together, having good food, the benefits of that are so huge and lead to other things, don't they?
Definitely. They definitely do. And that whole sense of community that you've been able to support and foster through this has been so powerful.
Well, thank you very much, but we couldn't do it without the funding. It's, you know, and so I thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk today. I know I can, once I start, I don't stop, but we genuinely love this project, and we're just literally, an email's just popped through 5 minutes ago on our May schedule. We're working on the summer. It's the beginning of the future with our families. So, you know, thank you very much.
Oh, fantastic. It's been great having you on, and great to have you as part of the Leeds Community Foundation Healthy Holidays Network. Thanks so much, Alyssa.
Thank you. And thank you, Kate. And thank you all very much today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francesca, and our guests today for their excellent contributions. I just wanted to reflect really on some of the things that we've just heard. As Becky pointed out, the regularity and predictability of a program like Healthy Holidays means that the trust grows and children come back for more. Not just children, but their families, their parents, their carers. And that momentum is what's so important for the community centres, as well as for the individuals themselves. Absolute credit to New Wortley Community Association for making Healthy Holidays that catalyst to engage their families in a variety of ways with an idea to that long-term support and referring them on to support and services that can really make a difference. I loved hearing about empowering parents and kids to cook together, building a series of activities and games that can feed back into the home environment. That beneficiary mum who then becomes a volunteer, co-producing, so important. The women's group involved with the Healthy Holidays packs, engaging, building confidence, meeting and greeting, fulfilling to see those results. And then the youth board, setting up the treasure hunt, handing out the maps, and with more plans in the pipeline for great ideas over Christmas and the summer. Their focus on partnerships is really inspiring, I think. Brilliant network integration, planning for bigger and better. Leeds Rhinos, camps, 6 weeks of 5-day delivery for all the kids across a range of settings this summer. What a great ambition. And Elisa, expanding into multi-generational activity, turning around those previous summers for kids in her area that were in lockdown through lack of facilities and transport. I think we can all hear how important family engagement is for generations in Holbeck. And Leeds Community Foundation didn't just walk away, as she says. We've been that glue that's kept the programme together. But it's the groups like Alyssa's and Becky's that have built the confidence of their families and their participants. They've made that engagement and they've provided real-time feedback. It was great to hear about the surveys and forms that have been replaced by a WhatsApp. Quick communication and engagement, real-time feedback, and smashing ideas, fake away pizzas and the recipe kits. Keeping that business as usual in the neighbourhood is transformational when you think about a young 7-year-old cooking a chicken dinner for their parents. Well, that's the best type of doing with or doing by that I've heard from in a long while, a far cry from the doing to in days gone by. And what a result, a young mum becoming an apprentice to Holbeck Together. That generous sharing of information and tips and creative ideas that can benefit others. I think both of them really encapsulated that idea that Healthy Holidays can be a catalyst for amazing transformation within communities, a transformation that is coming from that community and belongs to that community. And that feels like the perfect point to stop. So that's it for this episode. Thank you very much for listening. Enormous thanks to my excellent co-host, Francesca, and her brilliant questions, to Rebecca and Alyssa for their inspiring stories. If you'd like to get in touch and talk to us about how you can create a positive impact in your community and provide opportunities for those that need it the most, please get in touch. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, take a couple of seconds to rate it on your favourite podcast platform. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to our newsletter on Leeds Community Foundation. You can also visit our website at leedscf.org.uk. Feel free to email us at info@leedscf.org.uk. Speak to you soon for the next episode of Give Love Leeds.